got some news for tennis fans watching us right now. So, the French Open has been postponed to May 30th and it will finish June 13th. So, the postponement is set to have an impact on the ATP and the WTA calendars, especially on the grass court seasons with tournaments scheduled to start on June 7th in Hertogen Bosch, WTA and ATP, Stuttgart, ATP, and Nottingham, WTA. FFT president Giles Morton, he said that he had made a decision by consulting with public authorities, and he said, and I quote, "It will give the health situation more time to improve and should optimize our chances of welcoming spectators at Roland Garros. For the fans, the players, the atmosphere, the presence of the spectators is vital to our tournament, the spring's most important international sporting event." And then he said, and then and then he said in a joint statement, excuse me, so I had to read that real quick. In a joint statement, he said both the ATP and the WTA are working in consultation with all parties impacted by the postponement to optimize the calendar for players, tournaments, and fans in the lead up to the following Roland Garros, the WTA, and the ATP. And this was reported by ESPN. So before I pass on to you guys, in case people are confused about the ATP and the WTA, in case you guys don't watch like tennis or anything, so different types of tournaments that go on are ran by different tennis organizations. You know, it's kind of like boxing. You know how in boxing there's so many titles. There's like the WBO, the WBA. That's exactly what it is. That's basically what it is. Except like the tournaments are, they're basically the tournaments are. What's the word I'm thinking of? I'm looking for. Nate, help me out here. Certain like organizations like the ATP and the WTA, depending on what tournament it is, those are the companies that end up kind of those are the organizations that set up these tournaments. So that's basically what it means. So with that being said, Nate, I'll let you start first. Your thoughts on the French opening starting on May 30th.
Yeah, well, I can't remember if you mentioned this, but this was due because of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Right,
Yeah, man,
right.
I wanted to mention that because even though there's a vaccine out that a lot of people are getting is making our lives somewhat normal again, there's still a pandemic out there. And even though we're getting this vaccine, or if you're not, that's fine. I'm not here to judge you, but if you do get the vaccine, a lot of people forget when they get the vaccine, that's just one individual person. There's still many people out there that haven't gotten it yet. So what I'm basically what I'm trying to say is that even though there's a vaccine that's willing to help us make our lives normal again, there's still a pandemic out there too. You gotta remember that. Not to mention, this French Open isn't French. It's in the damn title. Not to mention, French is in Europe, where there's whole other variants of the COVID-19 pandemic. It's been all over the news. I think a couple of them came here to America, but those are being contained. But in Europe, Europe doesn't have healthcare like America does. They can't instantly, or I wouldn't say instantly. It took us a bit to kind of get it too, but they can't get results as fast as we can. Let me put it like that. But that's something a lot of people tend to forget, that despite there being a vaccine and maybe even a cure in a couple of years from now, who knows, Just baby steps first. No, we got a vaccine, now we work on a cure. It's baby steps. Like there's still a pandemic out there and we gotta be aware of that. You know what I mean? Still have to follow certain rules. I know and because of that, there are a lot of COVID-19 spikes. I know in Rhode Island it's going up a lot too recently because people get vaccinated, but then forget, there's still rules that we have to follow. In Texas, what do you call it? In Texas, I remember when Baylor won the national championship, everybody was at the McLean Stadium on the field. Like it was just a packed house. And just the other day, the Rangers opened up their new ballpark to the fans at 100% capacity. So these people are forgetting, hey, there's still a freaking pandemic out there. Like, screw that damn pandemic. Let's go live our lives. And then all this happens. You know what I mean? So basically, what I'm trying to say is, if you're vaccinated or if not, just be aware there's still a pandemic out there that's still wanting to eat us whole, despite us trying to do the best we can to contain this. So with that being said, as for the tennis players, best of luck to them moving forward. I hope they get a lot of practice and get a lot of workouts. And I'll pass on to you now, Lee.
Obviously, the COVID-19 pandemic has affected us all, and for the French World Cup, I'm sorry, French Tennis Open, my mistake, to be affected in this way, it affects players, it affects the fans, and there's a lot of frustration, a lot of uncertainty. Thank goodness it's just the postponement as for now. For France, which is in Europe, I mean, Europe last year absolutely got slammed, filled to the brim with their hospitals.
Yeah.
They didn't have a bed or anything to spare, barely. They're choosing who lives and who gets treatment and who doesn't. I'll put it as that. But for the French Open, I hope these guys can come back. They will. Hopefully, there isn't another spike that further pushes this to an even later date. And when they do get back on the courts, they ball out and have as good of a time as you can while following COVID-19 precautions.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is just a minor setback. This is just a minor setback as for the French Open right now. Um, Obviously now this minor setback is going to have more effects on again the ATP and the WTA, and that's why I wanted to explain what they were because they postponed the French Open. All these other tournaments are going to have to. We're going to definitely see. I think Nate, a lot of more postponements because they're going to have to really extend it. They're going to really have to postpone their events as well because it's interfering with with those calendars of the ATP and the WTA. But yeah, like you said, this was something that needed to be done because again, like if you heard in the quote, he wants the fans to be in the stadium. He wants to see the fans there supporting their players, everything like that. He says that's a big part of the sport, which fans are a big part of every sport. So that is definitely something that is definitely something that they want to do. They also want to make sure that everybody's safe. And we can look at it as like, what's unfortunate that like this got postponed. Like we can look at it in a negative way, but let me look at this in a positive way. At least on the bright side, it gives players more time to like practice. It gives them more like rest. We can say that, because if it was supposed to be at like an earlier date, they have less time to train. They have less time to kind of relax and enjoy themselves. Now they got a little bit more time. So at least we look at it like that. Like the players have a little bit more time to be lenient with, whether they want to train more, whether they want to relax, whatever they want to do. They have more time to do that. So that is the bright side of it. And that's something that I've kind of like took in like a lesson to in this COVID-19 pandemic. And obviously like I've dealt with like issues of like I never got tested positive for it, but like I've had roommates that did, and I had to go quarantine for 2 weeks. I know Nate has had to quarantine for 2 weeks for very very similar reasons. It's obviously we had like negative attitudes to it, but one lesson I could take out of it is we got to find positive in it. We have to we got to find some positive in it in these types of situations. Find the positive out of the negative. And that's the positive I'm taking out of it. These players have more time to do what they need to do or just even relax, whatever it might be, spend time with their families, whatever it might be, they have more time to do it. So, I mean, with that being said, obviously the French Open, it is a tournament I really do look forward to. Obviously, like I'm a big like Serena Williams fan, Naomi Osaka fan, Rafael Nadal fan. So with that being said, I wish all the tennis players the best of luck, until the tournament comes, because I'm trying to see my boy Rafael Nadal and I'm trying to see the homegirl Naomi Osaka end up winning this thing. That's what I'm trying to see. But, for all the tennis players, health wise and everything like that, I do wish them the best of luck and I do wish them the best of luck in the tournament.